Welcome to Destination Linux, the USS Enterprise D of open source exploration, where every repo is a star system waiting to be chartered, and every commit is a course correction in the continuum of tech. I am your captain, Jean-Luc Michael. This week, sipping a steaming cup of tea Earl Grey hot while sitting in the big chair of the bridge, my mission to seek out new distros and new desktop environments to boldly sudo where no one has sudoed before.
Who put you in charge? I didn't vote for you. It's ridiculous.
It's military system. I'm the captain, so you can't vote. Jill is our Lieutenant Tasha Yar, fearless code enforcing security chief who can lock down a network faster than she can phaser a Klingon ambush. Her creed: if it's not open source, it's a Romulan cloaking device hiding treachery.
It's true.
Ryan is our Lieutenant Worf Gruff. What is that? Gruff?
I'm gruff. I'm gruff, hardworking.
Oh, you're gruff. I see. I thought you was be like gruff. A hardware honing warrior, forging server racks with Klingon precision and always ready to defend the honor of a clean kernel. Although, right. I'd like to point out Tashiar is defending off a Klingon ambush, and you are. So this week's Starlog, we'll scan a community-written Linux guide that's been crowdsourced faster than you can say, make it so. We'll introduce newcomers to Kimi AI, our new ship's counselor fluent in 40 languages, armed with the end-to-end encrypted empathy, and ready to tackle your dependency Hades faster than you can ask, what's my purpose? And we'll stage an intervention for phone addiction. So set your phasers to install, sync your tricorder repos, and remember, in open source space, no one can hear you scream. Unless you're on a Bluetooth mesh channel with end-to-end encryption. Then they might be able to. It's time for Destination Linux. Engage.
This week, our feedback comes from Cecil related to a discussion in episode 423. They say, for another perspective on the people are staring at their phones instead of enjoying things topic. I usually am using my phone 90% of the time while walking my dog. Hopefully you're listening to our podcast. That's the only acceptable reason you should have your phone on you there.
Or you're in your terminal text editor.
That's true.
On your phone.
They go on to say, I've sometimes thought about how someone seeing that might pity me because they think I'm not aware of my surroundings, not appreciating the scenery, etc. But I was born over a decade before smartphones, and I've always been the kind of person who gets lost in their thoughts. Turned out that doing stuff on a smartphone can actually help me stay away or aware of my surroundings by limiting how far my thoughts can wander and focusing my field of vision. If I'm on my phone, I never fail to notice when my dog does their business. On the other hand, when I forget to bring it, I can space out completely by the time and return home. I have no idea what my dog did. Meanwhile, I'm thoroughly enjoying the breeze and whatever sounds of nature around. That being said, I don't know what it might be like for some of the people who grew up with smartphones. Either way, I think there's something to be said for the fact that while outside observers only see someone staring at a screen, anything could be on that screen, including chats with loved ones, educational apps, online shopping pages for non-puffy Cheetos. Good point. Okay, so at first I'm like, I'm not sure I'm following, but then you went with the non-puffy Cheetos, and now I got to be like, going to tuxdigital.com or checking out Sandfly. Man, how am I going to argue with this? Cecil.
Great feedback.
Did a brilliant feedback because they gave an arguable statement, but then made it impossible for me to want to argue it at the end. So the only thing I could do is be like, I agree. Like, of course, Cecil, like this is great.
Our hands are tied with this situation. So yeah, we agree.
Yeah.
I mean, what can I say? No, I get what you're saying. I think that, there are certain individuals who are utilizing their phone, like you said, because of needing to help keep their focus, especially people with ADHD, those type of things too. I think certain apps and things can help a lot.
I feel like with ADHD, as someone who I think I have it, that's more like a smartphone is more like kryptonite to us.
Well, it can be, but there's also apps to help with that kind of focusing and things like that. So there's a lot of stuff. What I'm saying is, what Cecil's saying is, there's a lot of stuff you could be doing on your phone that's not just doom scrolling, right?
Yeah.
And so I agree with you. I think, though, if we look at the issue at large, when you go into a concert and everybody's playing on their phone instead of listening to music, when you go into a movie and people are playing on their phone in the middle of the movie, granted, it may be a boring movie, but I think the phone addiction's real. There's been lots of studies on phone addiction. It's not like something we just made up or anything like that. So the phone addiction issue is a real problem. A lot of people suffer from basically not living in any moment and living completely in their digital lives. And it's gone so far as there's actually problems in other countries where people are only like wanting to date AI apps. Like they're obsessed with this technology to the point where their girlfriend is basically an AI bot and things like that. And that's probably coming here.
And that's I don't understand that, but more power to you.
We don't have to understand it, but what I think is interesting is that the obsession that's come with this is something that we are going to have to figure out how to deal with, because much like the MMO addiction, which is another addiction, massively multiplayer online role-playing games, there's actually special support groups and other things for people to break free from that addiction. I actually knew somebody who was severely addicted to World of Warcraft to the point where it was ruining their life.
I wasn't, but I knew someone who was, and it was a very interesting situation because I never even touched the game. I played maybe 10 seconds and like, nah, it's not my thing. Yeah. But there's some people who are just stuck in it for years and spend thousands of dollars on it.
When I was pretty young, I would say I was pretty addicted to EverQuest and to Ultima Online, which were predecessors to World of Warcraft. I mean, I thought about it while I was at work. I didn't work a very important job at the point, but I thought about it while I was at work, and I woke up and turned it on. When I was going to sleep, it was turning it on. Like I could see the addiction. And what happens is it becomes much more rewarding and fun in the virtual world than it does in the real world. It's much harder to make money, to make friends, to do everything in the real world. It's much easier in this virtual space, and you feel more important in the virtual space. And I think that's something that we all have to contend with, especially those of us with kids, and figure out, what is the right way to handle these situations so that people don't become obsessed with it. But to your point, Cecil, you can't just assume because somebody's on their phone that they're not enjoying the moment. Totally get that. What do you do, Michael? We're in the middle. Put down your phone. We're in the middle of a podcast.
What? I'm doom scrolling. See?
You literally looking at pictures of Doom?
Yeah, Doom.
Very
exactly.
Very cute. Very, very cute.
Not war crack?
Yeah.
He's not doing war crack.
It's very interesting, though. Like, Jill, did you notice this? Because you worked with a lot of college students and things like that. Did you notice that a lot of the students, especially towards the end, were more focused on their phones than maybe even learning in the classroom, or was that never an issue?
It wasn't really an issue because I would have my students turn off their phones.
Tricky.
Yeah, that was when
she would take their phones, put them in a box, like a lock box, and then throw it under a bus.
I didn't do that, but I would have them. But before then, just having a computer in front of them to do a lecture in front of a computer, with students in a computer lab with like 100 computers in there, their distraction and getting them to just focus on what I was talking about and the lesson plan was sometimes difficult, to the point where some of the classes, they installed software that would disable the computers so the students couldn't use them while the instructors were lecturing.
Interesting. It's just too simple, right? It's too easy of a distraction. And I know my kids' school is the same way. They're allowed to play with their phones until the school doors open. Yeah. But once the classroom bells ring, they have to put their phones up. And if they come out, the principal takes them. So that's the only way they can get the kids to focus. I think it's just too accessible. It's too easy to get lost in playing with your phone. And there's a lot of great recommendations of keeping your phone not on your nightstand, as an example, because a lot of people will just sit there and play on their phone all night till they go to sleep. And never really.
But it also keeps you awake because of that, and it's also a good way to force yourself to wake up is to not keep it on a nightstand, keep it at like the other side of the room because you have to get out of bed to go turn off the alarm and stuff like that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly.
So Cecil, thank you for sending in the feedback. I think it's an interesting clarification as well to not assume, but also definitely something I think everybody, especially parents, are worried about of their kids being too stuck or obsessed with their phones there. If you want to send in your feedback, you can get your feedback at destinationlinux.net/comments, and we may read it on the show.
And destinationlinux.net/forum to hang out with other people who are part of the community. Today, we're joined by Craig Rowland, the founder and CEO of Sandfly, to give us our security scoop this week. Craig, welcome back to the show. And what is some recent security news or stories that are on the top of your mind for this week?
Well, one that's recently come back again after we initially talked about back in 2022 was BPFdoor. So a well-known security blogger called Hacks Rob at his blog, which is haxwrob.net, haxrob.net, he wrote about the new version of BPFdoor. So BPFdoor, for background, was a piece of malware that they believe is linked to Chinese state actors. It was largely targeting a lot of telcos and critical infrastructure. So the first version of that, it was a great backdoor. Actually, I quite liked it because of its simplicity. But version 2 of it, they basically added additional features and hiding capabilities to make it more evasive. And they also upgraded the security in it so you can no longer easily decode what it's doing. And now there's public-private key involved with it as well to make it more evasive.
So this BPF, this is Berkeley packet filtering. This is a common packet filtering most people run on their network. But this malware is basically utilizing that and hiding it. Is that true? Is that how it works?
Yeah, what it's doing, it's using something called a magic packet to activate. So essentially, BPF is a lot like, it is a Berkeley packet filter. It's like what you would use for TCP dump or something. But the way this malware uses it is watching all the network traffic. And when it sees a certain packet come in with a certain sequence in it and a certain correct passcode and a certain command, it will then activate. And then that's how it does its business. So in the case of BPFdoor, what made it really evasive is the fact that it's watching all the network traffic on your host. So if you send a special command, like let's say you're running a website on port 443, you say, hey, all my traffic's encrypted. I have a great firewall. Nobody could get through this. I'm solid. The way BPFdoor would work is it's watching all the traffic going to that box, regardless of the port. If a magic packet is received on port 443, for instance, it would say, right, this is someone who wants to control me. It would then open up a port on a high port, and then it would reconfigure the local firewall so that all the traffic just from that one user gets forwarded to the back door. Now, if you're monitoring network traffic, you see traffic going to port 443 as expected. And of course, it's encrypted, so everything looks normal. But behind the scenes, BPFdoor has forwarded that traffic to a bind shell backdoor that it has on that box. And then that's what makes it so evasive. So even if your firewall is working, BPF is still seeing all the packets and is able to intercept those packets and activate. So that's what made this one pretty unique.
What I think is interesting about this is I've talked about this on the show quite a bit, that one of the problems with these governments attacking each other with these things is once they attack each other, it's kind of out there in the open, right? So they use it to maybe target a specific government entity or whatever. But then this malware can be picked up from other actors, even just script kiddies or whatever, that can go make some modifications and utilize a very sophisticated tool that was meant for a very specific purpose now for other nefarious purposes and make it kind of dangerous. And this kind of sounds like it may have started out as something like that at some point. And this type of malware, because it lays dormant, isn't really detectable then by your standard antiviruses and other things out there, right? Because for the most part, it's waiting for instruction. It's not doing anything nefarious.
Yeah, it is. I mean, one of the other problems on Linux too is a lot of malware is open source, right? So when you start to use traditional kind of file scanning, the way like a Windows antivirus would work, it doesn't really work very well on Linux because the malware is very easy to change. So in the case of like BPFdoor, you really need to be looking for the tactics of how it's hiding and waiting. Now, we could find that as a product because we look for the tactics of compromise. But if you're just using generic kind of file scanning stuff or on Clam AV or something like that, you very likely are not going to see this type of malware there, especially if they change the code in any significant way.
Yeah, because they're looking for prior signatures. So like what you're saying is, generally how an antivirus works is it looks for signatures of viruses that have been caught, goes back and looks at those signatures in the antivirus tool to find them. But if you've changed those signatures just slightly, enough that it's not going to pick that up anymore. It's not going to see it. But why would Sandfly pick up something like this? How is it different, and what would they see if they were running Sandfly?
We first ran into this particular backdoor back in 2022. It was actually late at night, about midnight, and I saw someone tweet about this undetectable malware. And I looked at the source code, the C code, and I said immediately, there's no way we would miss this. And so we compiled it up and we ran it, and we immediately lit up like a Christmas tree. And I think the difference is that
undetectable.
Yeah, the difference. Exactly. I mean, and this is a problem on Linux. Unfortunately, everything's undetectable if you're not looking. And Linux, because of the way it works, the incompatibilities, it's very difficult to get a lot of agent-based systems onto these platforms. But also, too, a lot of times these other systems are using kind of Windows approaches to malware. The way we were able to find it is that the tactics, it just looked very odd. You know, we saw a process that was running out of the RAM disk, which is dev.shm on Linux, which is very weird. Why would a process run out of a volatile memory location? The process deleted itself from disk after it executed to hide the binaries. This way, if you tried to do a file scan, you just wouldn't see it because it wasn't on the disk anymore. It was then sniffing network traffic. It was grabbing all network traffic, which is really unusual for the fact that it's running from a RAM disk and it deleted itself from the disk, right? And then finally, when it activates, the bind shell backdoor it kicks off has a lot of suspicious attributes as well. Again, it was spawned by a process that's sniffing network traffic. It's got connections that look very odd to us, like a typical shell would never look that way. So it had all these things that we didn't know what it was at the time, but it just looked like we know you're not good, right? We don't know what you are, but we know you're not friendly, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So how does one get rid of this if you detect it? So if you have Sandfly, you're running that, boom, you've got all this Christmas tree lighting up exactly what you want, but what do you do with it to get rid of it?
You know, this is a tough one on Linux. We get asked this question a lot. So on Windows, it could be fairly straightforward to eliminate, to clean up, a system and be okay. The problem with Linux is there's too many ways for people to change it, right? So I would caution, if you get a system that's hit with the malware, you always need to find out how they got onto the system. Because if you don't figure out how they got on, a root cause analysis, they're just going to be back again. Maybe it won't be that day, but next month, you know what I mean? They're going to come back. I've never seen an attacker just go away. They always try to come back. So ultimately with Linux, if you know a system's been compromised, you have to find out how they got on the box. And then and then at that point, I would recommend burning the system to the ground and just rebuilding it, because you don't know what they did, right? I mean, you just got to nuke the thing from orbit, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing too is that root cause analysis. You then need to take that and look at all your other systems to make sure they didn't use that same trick to get on these other boxes. So BPFdoor is relatively easy to clean up, but you can't guarantee that they're not going to come back and hide it
because they got in at some point to put it there. Yeah. So that's why you're saying you got to go find that door and close it, basically. Keep them out. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, you do. I mean, the way I explain it is like, you might let's say even you ran a magic product that could block all the attacks against Linux, and say, hey, it blocked 5 attacks. Well, that doesn't mean there wasn't a 6th attack that it didn't block. You just didn't see it, right? So I can't prove that, right? You got to make sure the root cause of how they got on is fixed. That's basically it.
Craig, a question. When it's in the RAM disk, is it just kind of like churning around and trying to find what parts of the system that it can attack randomly? Or is it going after a certain like system D on the computers?
It's just gone resident. Now that was version 1. Version 2, they did away with the running from RAM disk. They realized that was a bad idea, so they stopped doing that. But both versions will do something very similar. They're just going to start and just very quietly run a BPF filter, and then just look for the network traffic. Now, the reason they use BPF filter and not just watch every packet is that keeps it a very low CPU, because if they didn't put the BPF filter in, it would be watching every packet. They'd have to decode it. That'd be very, very expensive, right? So, but
you would
BPF,
notice this issues with the CPU and everything. Yeah,
absolutely, you would notice it. So, a BPFdoor is it's serving as a first order filter that they're only looking at packets that just happen to have that magic ID, and then they go ahead and validate it. So, the BPF is really used for an efficiency mechanism to make the malware really, really unobtrusive. So, the first version, like I said, I'm a bit of a malware connoisseur, right? I appreciate the craft, And I thought the first version of BPFdoor was just awesome. It's just a small little thing. It did one thing really well. The new version of it, it's a lot more bloated. They have like, SSL key negotiation and stuff, which I know they had to do because that keeps other people from trying to access it. But it's lost a little bit of the magic, I'll be honest with you. Compared to the first version.
So from your perspective, I think that's an interesting perspective. And by the way, the person I want running security stuff and making software for my system of security, I want to be a fan of this stuff so that they understand it and study
security.
Yeah.
That's why you would be doing it in the first place. Yeah.
But I love that you're more fascinated by the simple ones than the advanced bloated ones that try to be a Swiss Army knife. And I think that's because that's far more complex, even from a mitigation standpoint, when you're creating tools to try to stop this stuff, of stopping when it keeps itself super simple versus something that's pinging all over the place, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, you want to keep it simple. I mean, look, I have a really simple heuristic for malware. The more ASCII art it contains, the less seriously I take it. I mean, that's just it is like the stuff that's no ASCII art. It's just got one task, does it really well, doesn't try to do everything. That stuff is what I consider professional grade, right? The stuff the ASCII art trying to do 50,000 different things. That's like, I don't know, kiddie level stuff. I don't consider it very serious because, you don't want to get seen. And the more times you add features to it, blah, 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 man, you're going to mess up. You're going to mess up and get seen.
It's funny you say the ASCII art thing because I remember the first time I saw a hacking program. I was at a friend's house and he had an older brother who was had this hacking software. And I thought it was amazing back then because he could boot people out of AOL chat rooms. That's how advanced it was. I mean, unbelievable. No one's ever heard of such a thing, right? But
A
when
lot
he
of people
loaded
who are
it,
watching this haven't heard of AOL.
Oh, you're probably right. Yeah, most people don't even know what AOL is. They send a lot of CDs. That's all you need to know. But when he loaded the program, I just remember the ASCII art was scrolling. It had like death and skulls and all these different things. And all it did was just boot people from an AOL chat room, like it was fantastic. So yeah, I think you're dead on there.
I feel like there's a lot of nostalgia in terms of like the hacking aspects because what you described just then about the stuff being scrolled in the chat rooms and stuff reminded me of this one malware. I don't know what it's called. I just remember it happening where it would basically like do this effect where it just once it activated, it started melting your screen. So like did that
make
actual
it look like
effect,
yeah.
an effect of it, of the desktop melting and stuff, and then at the very end it'd be like it'd be like 99% black screen and this just a bunch of colors sitting at the bottom.
Yeah,
and anyway, I don't remember what it was called, but that kind of stuff was funny. But now looking back on it, but it's definitely not something you would take very serious.
Yeah, well, that was the good old days. Today they just encrypt your hard drive and look for want you to pay in Bitcoin. So
exactly. Well, I think it's awesome that those who have taken advantage, I know there's a lot of you out there of the Sandfly Home Edition, other things. This is just one of the many reasons why Sandfly is an amazing product because it's not doing that standard virus scanning stuff. It's looking for those anomalies out there and can pick up things like this. Speaking though of viruses, I hear you're attending Defcon. Very jealous, by the way. I hear you're attending Defcon and Blackhat again this year. So I thought for our listeners that are like me, who've always wanted to go to these conferences, to ask
that are very scared to go because of being hacked. That's why Ryan's not going.
That's not why I'm not going. I can't wait to be hacked at DEF CON. What are the differences between the two? So DEF CON and Blackhat, if someone's like me, they want to know what's the difference between the two. How would you describe which one maybe someone will go to based on the event?
So Blackhat is if you have money and DEF CON is if you don't. Right, so Blackhat.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically
well
it.
said.
Blackhat is what the guys working at big corporations use as the excuse to actually go to DEF CON because Blackhat gives that legitimate look to it, right? So I started going to DEF CON. Price, I forgot what it was. I think we talked before the call, like 4 or 5. I forgot. It was very small back then. A few hundred people. We all fit in a single room. Now it's like 20,000+ people. It's very, very large now. So I think there's a lot of Linux there. So if you're into Linux, just really great people. I don't worry about getting hacked there at all. People talk about bringing your burner phone and this and that. Like, look, man, nobody's going to burn a 0 day on you. You're just not that important. That's what I tell people. I mean, you're just not, right? I mean, a 0-day iPhone bug is like worth $1 million+ You think they're just going to throw it out on DEFCON network, right? So, man, bring your phone. You're fine. Turn it off if you don't want. You'll be fine. Hey, and if you're worth having a 0 day, you should feel special. Someone burns
like,
0
I
day.
got a 0 day. I'm hacked.
They just did it. But it's a good conference to go to. So we will be at Blackhat. We're running a booth at Startup City, and then I will stay on for a few extra days. So I'll be at Blackhat. We'll have shirts. We'll have stickers. I'll be walking around if you want to come up and talk Linux, and we can debate the pluses and minuses of System D, whether or not it's destroyed the planet or not, whatever you want.
I love it.
Yeah.
And then, I was getting to the tips and tricks for DEF CON. And it's funny you mentioned the burner phone, because a few folks I've talked to are like, don't go with your regular phone. You better have a burner phone. So now I know no one's going to waste time on that. I can bring my regular phone. Is there any other tips to getting the most out of DEF CON that you would have?
I guess like my thing is like, Vegas has gotten a lot more serious about security and people who look suspicious. So like if you're walking around with enough antennas out of your backpack that you look like a porcupine, you're going to get questioned by hotel security, right? Don't act surprised. So last year people were all upset. Oh, security came into my room, and like, yeah, they go into everyone's room because of stuff they've had happen. And especially if you look like you're going to cause trouble at a casino, yes, they're going to throw you out, right? I don't know what to say. So I would go there and be like, look, don't be an idiot. Right. If you look normal, you're not going to get bothered. If you look like someone who's causing trouble because you are causing trouble, then you will attract the attention of casino security. And don't complain. Don't complain about it when it happens. Like I won't feel too sorry for you. So that's it. Otherwise, it's a great crowd. You'll have a good time. Other than the fact that it's hot, but other than that, it's pretty good.
Not much you can do about that.
So there's two reasons don't wear a ski mask. The heat and the
and suspicion.
Yeah, that's right. Walking through the casino floor with a bunch of antennas hanging in your backpack is a really good way to get attention you don't want.
Yeah.
The ski mask might get you less attention.
Yeah.
Well, the amount of trolling that happens there, I wonder if anybody just walks around in in the floor with a backpack that's just antennas connected to nothing. It's just a bunch of.
And then they go on social media and complain that they were picked on.
You could do. When Guido and Luigi take you down to the bottom basement of the Caesar's Palace to talk to you in a broom closet.
Probably not worth it then.
Don't complain. Yeah, the collapsible nightstick comes out across your knees, right?
Yeah. No, it sounds like an incredible time for those that go, and there's other podcasts. I love Darknet Diaries, and they're out there. That person Jack goes all the time to the DEF CON series, and it sounds like it's an amazing time. So I'm going to get there, but you're not going to see me there this year, but you will see Craig. So go check that out. That's going to be awesome. And Craig, thank you for coming on and giving us a security scoop. We're going to have you back when we have some righteous or awesome hacks or malware or other things that we can talk about. And it's always awesome hearing from you. And thank you so much for all you do for our community and supporting things. We appreciate it.
Right. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So it was awesome having Craig on the show to talk about the security scoop. But if you want to experience, just like we talked about, Sandfly is one of the tools that can detect all types of different intrusions, all different types of malware because of how it works. It's an absolutely amazing tool. Experience security that's not just effective, but gives you peace of mind. No agents, no downtime, just cutting edge protection. Head right now to destinationlinux.net/Sandfly and check out their amazing security protection services to keep your system safe.
And there's also a discount code that you can use. Destination is what you use to get 50% off the Home Edition. That's right. There's a Home Lab Edition for anyone who wants to protect their network, their LAN, and you can get a discount with that with Destination coupon code. So dive into the future of Linux security at destinationlinux.net/SANDFLY. That's destinationlinux.net/Sandfly, and see how Sandfly can transform your security strategy.
So, Michael, we covered the very impressive DeepSeek AI. Jill, have you checked out DeepSeek as well already since we covered that on the show? It's really good.
I think she went into it very deeply.
Ah, Well, good job, Michael. Good
Thank you.
job. DeepSeek was made on a smaller budget, and I mean, not as quite as small as they were advertising because there's a lot of controversy there. But either way, it was made on a smaller budget than things like ChatGPT and other stuff. It was very powerful. But there's an even more powerful open source tool, at least that's the claim, coming from Moonshot AI. And a lot of the tools like Grok, ChatGPT, and Claude, if you've played with them, done anything extensive with them outside of just kind of standard prompts, you may run into the fact that they have limits on the amount of characters that it will process at a single time. Now, I run into this if I write one of my papers in college and I want it to go and review to find mistakes, make sure I'm not missing anything, APA formats. I basically use it as an error checking agent. The tools will time out and be like, oh, it's too much information. I can't process that. So
ironic considering the fact that they want to take everyone's information.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I'm giving you a paper that, somebody else will just plagiarize. So like, you're welcome. Hello. Additionally, those tools are not open source. DeepSeek was open source.
Yeah.
At least big parts of it were open source, but this ChatGPT and things are not. However, there are billions of investments, going into these projects that are not open source. So you think it's impossible to compete with something like ChatGPT and stuff that probably if hit the stock market would be worth in the trillions. It'd probably surpass Apple when they go live on the stock market just because of how influential they've become. Well, this company Moonshot is breaking benchmarks even against these billion-dollar GPTs that are closed source. And I think
are you saying that they're shooting for the moon?
They're moonshot.
Mm-hmm.
No, they already shot the moon. They moonshot.
Oh, they shot it. Okay, so they hit it. They hit it, and that's what we're talking about now. Yeah,
they already landed.
There you go. So the features of Moonshot AI include huge text capacity. So Kimi AI can handle up to 2 million Chinese characters at once, way more than ChatGPT or Grok. Perfect for big documents, long chats. It's free to use right now. So Kimi AI 1.5 is completely free, no limits, unlike ChatGPT, which is like $20, $30 a month now, or Super Grok, which is $30 a month, but does come with an AI girlfriend. So
Super Grok.
Yeah.
Super Grok. That sounds like such a Grok.
They have multi-model power, processes text, images, code together that beats models like DeepSeek for tasks needing mixed data analysis, as real-time web search, which, some of these GPTs you get, they're behind. They're not up with current events, but this can do real-time search, which makes it very effective. It was scoring for coding 96.2% on Math 500 tests, shines in coding challenges, often outperforms Claude for developers that have tried it and used it. Obviously, it works very well because it was made in China with different Chinese languages, and also works with tons of other languages as well, which I think is very interesting and breaks down, these questions that are given to it in very step-by-step basis, so that it can basically explain very complex scenarios, but utilize some of its reasoning to break that down into things to help you, for instance, create a model to help you learn to code SQL, create a model to help you code, a new language you want to learn, or some other thing. So it's got some reasoning model built into it. It's got 1 trillion parameters, which is crazy. It's made by Moonshot, this Kimi thing, and it is founded back in 2023, but it's backed by Alibaba and Tencent. And if you don't know, if you play Marvel Rivals is also created by Tencent. And Alibaba is like Amazon of China.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's kind of interesting. I mean, the Tencent thing with the Marvel Rivals, I didn't know that Marvel Rivals was made by them, but Riot Games is also owned by Tencent, and Riot Games refuses to support Linux, and Marvel Rivals is so proactive on supporting Linux. Very confusing.
Yeah, and AliEx is also owned by Alibaba, and their parent company also owns Temu.
Interesting. I think I was wrong about Marvel Rivals. It's Marvel Rivals is owned by NetEase.
Okay.
Oh, it's similar sounding name. Yeah. Okay.
So NetEase, not Tencent.
So
Interesting.
that makes more
Okay.
sense because Tencent, I knew that they owned Riot Games, and I knew Riot Games was lame and had a stupid rootkit. And anti-cheat. They call it an anti-cheat.
Oh yeah,
It's,
yeah. Anti-cheat. You got that
It's-
mixed up. It's easy to mix those up.
Yeah, my bad. I forgot. I pronounced it wrong. My bad. But yeah, that one's a terrible piece of software that I would highly recommend to avoid. Don't play those games. It's not worth it.
So I played with this new Kimi model, and I was very impressed with it. I was asking it some pretty, advanced topics to break down and explain. And I thought it did a very, very good job. I also told it to make code that was undetectable by other AI algorithm checkers.
Nice.
And so it wrote some stuff. I ran it through the algorithm checkers. It scored like a 60%, which is about on par when you ask ChatGPT or others to write things that are undetectable by AI, meaning it has to use an original voice. And so that's one of the tests I like to do with the AI tools to see how good they can try to manipulate or trick. So I was pretty impressed with the fact that it's free. Like it kind of blows me away that it's free out
It
there.
is crazy.
Like, what did you think, Jill?
I was really impressed with it. I brought in a couple PDFs of our show notes and asked it a few
teaching
questions.
it about us?
Whoa.
Yeah.
I love it.
You gave it it was like very important behind the scenes data about how we do this show that's completely public and given to everyone.
Yeah. Well, it's an open source algorithm, so it has to be accurate about open source, including podcasts that specialize in open source and Linux.
Fair enough, Jill. Fair enough.
I want the machine to know us so it won't kill us, Michael. Proceed, Jill.
Exactly.
So I also like that it actually, when you ask the Kimi AI a question, it shows you the results from the web articles it used to answer the question in a sidebar on the left-hand side. It was just nice and organized and easy to see. And it shows, it's showing you right there, this is where I've gotten this information from, or these are the files that I'm using. So I was impressed by that because a lot of the other ones, they don't necessarily tell you what websites they went to find this information.
I think that it's something it's interesting is like these kinds of tools, like the open source tools that have been released are more they're giving you more information about like what you're actually trying, like how is it coming to this conclusion. And the most important piece of these kinds of AI tools is not the final outcome, but how they got to it. Yeah. And because that way you can learn through the process. And now with these ChatGPT and the Gemini, they give you like this sort of synopsis of how they got to it, but they don't really give it to you while it's doing its thinking mode. It's telling you what it's thinking about, but you can't go back and like actually look at all the details of what it was doing. It's just telling you for like 2 seconds as it's thinking. And then it is if they give you the full details of how it got there, I think that would be so much more useful.
Now, a lot of the AI will tell you, like if you tell it, hey, do this and provide me references of where you got this.
They will.
It will list sites, but
a lot
of
they
times
also
I go to
will
those
give you
sites
that
and
don't
they don't exist. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what's really interesting is, it will give you what you want, whether it's right or not.
My favorite is when it makes it a link and says, here's the source, and there is no link attached to it whatsoever. It's just like this colored letter.
One of our patrons said, not going to kill you, but replace you. So that's a really interesting topic because I was thinking just today that, in 26 years working for corporate America, I've seen some things. And one of the things that I saw that was really tricky was a particular situation where they said, hey, we're not outsourcing, but we're bringing in this other company to help take off the low-hanging fruit of your work. So you'll still do the advanced stuff. They're just going to do the extra stuff to help you guys have more time to do your work.
That does not sound good.
Yeah, of course not. It wasn't good. So they did this because they didn't want us to be alarmed that we were training these people overseas who were, of course, going to take our jobs 6 months later. And so we were training these people to do our jobs, all knowing and having conversations that, hey, they're going to take our jobs and this whole thing's going to been a, shadow op on us. And now I'm thinking like AI has it so that the world is training this thing to take our jobs. Like we're all doing it. no matter what field you're in or what job. When you go and you give that thing prompts and you're correcting it and fixing it, you're training it to replace you.
In a way, yeah. That's why I don't correct it.
You're like, that's right. Stick to that. Stick to that level.
If it actually gives me a bad answer, I need to get it to give me a good answer. I will say like that's not even remotely close.
Stop
and I won't,
Michael.
I won't tell it what the answer is. And but even if it's like gives me the wrong answer again, I'm just like, all right, whatever. But if it's sometimes I'll just give me something that's close to what I needed. Like I was doing something. I don't remember what it was. I was trying to figure out something. And it was some kind of code that I couldn't figure it out. And I couldn't.
It was Michael AI.
I just couldn't. No, I just couldn't remember what the. Never. That's too perfect. There's no reason to reverse it. There was something I couldn't remember exactly what it was, and I asked like all the different AI chat systems, and they all gave me the worst possible answer. None of it's right. I know none of it's right. And one of them used a single term that like triggered my memory to go like, oh, that's what it would be called. And then I figured it out, and I told none of them. Like I didn't give any information. I was like, nope, nope. Like you come at me, bro. AI. Okay, don't come at me, please. To the AI overlords in the future, if you're listening to this because Jill put the PDF into your database, that's not. I wasn't saying that.
Yeah, Skynet's coming for you, brother. Coming for you. I think it's just an interesting thing to think about. I don't think there's any way around it because you're never going to stop people from feeding it. And here's what I think makes Kimi and DeepSeek a huge threat. You know, OpenAI was supposed to be open source and then they closed sourced it.
Right.
So now you only have a finite amount of resources that are writing and programming into this thing. A lot of people utilizing it, but of course you have paywalls up as well for any of the advanced stuff. Whereas China with these two open source models, I mean, there's like, I don't know, over 1 billion people in China that are probably utilizing these tools, plus everybody in the US now using these tools. And so their ability to scale up and be able to create more reasoning, better answers, better reasoning models and things, I think is going to be vastly surpass what ChatGPT and things can process. That's just a thought. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe closed source can do it better somehow here. But I don't think I am. I really think it's because the AI's power is in its ability, like you said, Michael, to not only get information, but get correct information and get corrected. So the more people you have utilizing it, the more powerful it becomes. And so that's where I think that these closed source models are going to run into a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I think the open source AI stuff is going to be a lot more powerful because of that. And I feel like a lot of people are more willing to use the open source AI because of that reason. They know that it's being at least transparent about stuff. And I wonder if the Kimi AI is a homegrown independent thing, or was it like forked from DeepSeek or something? That'd be kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think they were two separate projects because it started, I think they said back in 2021, 2022, something like that. So it's been out there being worked on for a minute. But you know what's interesting is like all of the AI development, all the AI tools, they all run on Linux, which is open source. And then you got these companies in there closed sourcing the basically the end portion of it. And I think ChatGPT needs to go back to its original model. But I know that won't be profitable for the stockholders. So
what's funny about it is that the founder of OpenAI admitted that was a mistake to close it.
Yeah.
And apparently he has no ability to make any changes, because they haven't changed anything. But it's kind of funny that he's acknowledged that. But also, I feel like the only reason he acknowledged that is because these models that are coming out that are just destroying the market share and the valuation of the company and stuff like that, for like the DeepSeek and now this Kimi thing. I think it's interesting because a lot of, like, we had Sherrard on last week talking about AI and how it could be used in really good ways. And I feel like the open source approach to these types of tools is really the I don't know, the silver bullet type of thing. It's like, it's basically what powers the movement forward that these companies won't be able to keep up because they're going to be competing at something that's moving at such a fast pace. Because a lot of the things about open source, if it starts way behind the other like proprietary things, and it takes a while to catch up, then it's clear that there's a difference in that sense. But in some cases where like open source is moving at that same pace, it quickly surpasses very, very quickly, and also in extreme ways. Like the fact that Linux is not just the most popular server-based operating system; it's the most popular operating system on everything. It's powering all these AI things. Like it's powering everything. The only desktop aside, it's powering everything. And that wouldn't have happened with a single proprietary thing. So once the threshold is met, that mass adoption is met. And I feel like with the DeepSeek stuff and the Kimi stuff, and I would bet that there's at least another one or two that are going to do the same thing. I feel like once they're already in a path where these other companies are just scared out of their minds.
They've got to be, right? Because you just got too much competition. Our only hope is Hugging Face, just because they have a cool name.
and
like
they do.
And the name is the best ever.
Yeah, it is the
so
best. And like we were talking about with Sherrard last week, having the open framework, the open guardrails to unify the open source software. That's what needs to happen, and it is starting to happen.
Yeah,
and NVIDIA is involved in that too.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's probably something to learn from China here as well, because believe me, China has some very extensive guardrails built into their AI tools so that you can't question the government on certain topics and historic events and things like that. Now, since it's open source, it would be interesting to take some of those guardrails and obviously maybe not utilize those specifically, but however it's implementing them in that open world would be very interesting. All these large language models, they are trained on Linux servers, not only because of the efficiency, but the cost savings efficiency part of it as well, versus utilizing other things. So, I mean, Linux powers all this stuff. They deserve to be open source. We talked about the whole fact that the digital divide and things like this. So I think this is a very important topic that we're going to be covering probably a lot, like Michael said, with a lot of different models coming out, probably 2, 3, 4, maybe a couple dozen sitting out there that are going to emerge.
Maybe there's going to be some forks of existing ones, and we're going to have some like improvements on those and all sorts of stuff. I feel like this is going to be a thing that we're going to be talking about for a long time, but also not that infrequently. Like I feel like it's going to happen quite a bit.
Yep. All right, Jill. So give us some good news. Looks like you picked a really happy topic. Thank you for that.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is kind of sad news. And I hate that I'm covering something sad, but it's okay. We're gonna talk to the community about it. And
we're gonna think about it in a nostalgia way rather than the ending way.
Yeah. So
don't cry, Jill. Jeez. It's not that serious. Now she's crying. Oh gosh.
No, that's not crying. She was just dabbing.
Yeah.
My bad.
So like I was just saying, this is some really sad news, and it really has me concerned about the future of Intel. Intel is ending support for Clear Linux OS and will no longer provide security patches, maintenance, and updates. What is Clear Linux OS, you may be asking? Clear Linux OS is Intel's own Linux distribution created in 2015 for cloud computing and built for performance and designed specifically for Intel hardware. It is optimized for power efficiency, speed, and security, which makes it great both for cloud and you can use it on your desktop as well. And a number of changes were made to the defaults in the kernel, along with lots of other tweaks, which help it perform extremely fast, even on older hardware for both Intel and AMD. And I know they went in and adjusted a lot of the CPU clock timings and the timings that Linux kernel works with the RAM. So they've done so many little
we would know it
tweaks.
Better,
So back in 2019, actually, when I was testing Clear Linux, it performed very fast on AMD hardware too. Actually, I hadn't tested it on Intel. I just went ahead and put it on a couple
You're
AMD
such a hacker,
laptops.
Jill. You take an Intel OS and you're like, but I'm going to run it on AMD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the
Boss.
results were actually striking. Even on my old 2013 Lenovo ThinkPad Edge E545 laptop with a quad-core AMD A6 APU, the older Radeon HD 8450G graphics card that was in that laptop performed really nicely playing games in Steam. I
Nice.
remember I couldn't believe it because I was getting 60 FPS average, of course, on medium settings, playing distance and the Talos principle. Compared to 30 to 50 frames per second I was getting from Ubuntu on the same machine. So I actually did comparisons of the different distros at the time, and I was really impressed that it was the fastest for gaming for FPS.
What's interesting about this is I remember Ike working on this, who was a developer that worked on a couple of different distros out there, but most recently Serpent OS, which became Aaron OS, that they're working on. And they worked at Intel for a while and had made some advancements to Clear. The fact that we probably have to explain Clear Linux OS and what it is probably speaks a lot to why it's no longer around. It was a really, really cool operating system, but it really never picked up steam with the broader community because I'm not sure it really explicitly stated what its purpose was for people. And so I think that kind of put it in a very niche kind of arena as far as distros go.
And also they did things very specifically. Like the whole idea was to optimize for the hardware and have the fastest experience you can with a Linux distro. And that's great. But also they had their own package management tool that was custom to their stuff. So the only things that were available on Clear Linux were things that they packaged themselves, because the vast majority of applications are going to be running like deb packages or RPM packages and not going to be swap D.
You got flat packs. You got
well, they added flat packs way later.
Way later.
Later.
But they were using the swapd package manager, which was a bit clunky and kind of heavy.
Yeah.
But it did work. It worked. And
it worked.
And Clear Linux, was a rolling release Linux
superior release. You can just
Yeah.
take out rolling with superior release model.
Okay, so we're going to have a debate in the future, I guess, because about rolling release versus the whole...
There's no debate. If you seriously, I'm not even joking, you cannot debate a rolling as a superior release model.
I can debate it because there's not...
You would be wrong. It's ridiculous.
Because you're thinking there's only two release models, the stable and the rolling.
You're looking at the hybrid.
I'm talking about the new style like Bazzite and stuff, and the Universal Blue and the Fedora Silver Blue, which are basically kind of rolling, but not exactly. They're stable bases they're stable base systems that are rolling at the same time. Like it's I guess
Tesla's
it's
a car, but not exactly, because it's got electric engine instead of an actual gas engine. So
no, that's not what I'm saying.
Is irrelevant.
That's not what I'm
saying.
Still
a car. It's rolling is superior. I win.
Yes, I agree that rolling is very superior for a car to be able to do. Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
This is true. It's better than having the square wheels.
Yes, exactly. The square wheels does not work. So
have we tried it recently? Do we know? I think I got a new conspiracy theory going. Triangle wheels were always better, but big government didn't want us to know.
Actually,
and
the
so we've never
hexagon
tested
wheel, the hexagon is the bestagon, and that is proof. There's undeniable proof.
Yeah.
It's bumpy, but closer to round.
You know why they went with round? Because round tears up, whereas a triangle wheel never tears up, so you don't have to replace the wheel. And the government
never tears up. That's true. It doesn't go anywhere either, but it never tears up.
So Arjan van de Ven from the Clear Linux project, he states, Clear Linux OS GitHub repository will be archived in read-only mode. So if you're currently using Clear Linux OS, we strongly recommend planning your migration to another actively maintained Linux distribution as soon as possible to ensure ongoing security and stability. Rest assured that Intel remains deeply invested in the Linux ecosystem, actively supporting and contributing to various open source projects and Linux distributions to enable and optimize for Intel hardware.
Well, that sounds good, but usually when these announcements are made, those kinds of things everybody just ignores anyway because they're meaningless. But
they missed marketing opportunity, Michael. That's the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
If I was over marketing, and I know I'm going to get a job offer just saying this,
of course,
they may even bring it back when I say this. If I was over marketing of Clear Linux, I'd have called Pepsi, been like, bring back Clear Pepsi. We're going to merge the two together, have a Clear Pepsi while programming on Clear Linux. I mean, come on. $1 billion idea.
I actually feel like that is a fantastic idea. But just real quick for history lesson, do you know why they got rid of Clear Pepsi?
No.
Because this society thought it was super weird that it was clear and tasted exactly like Pepsi. It was like it felt
like
wrong.
Sprite or
So they got rid of it, even though it didn't need to look almost black.
So we wouldn't have to have these artificial dyes in our drink and could have the same flavor, but people thought it's kind of like the pink ketchup that you see sometimes and stuff.
Exactly.
Like it does throw you. I get it. Like when I saw when they did the fun colored ketchup and mustard, I wanted nothing to do with it.
Yeah, the yellow ketchup was so like, nah, pass.
No, I can't. There's just something about it, like my ketchup needs to be red. I've been programmed. It's got to be red. Just like I've been programmed round wheels are the best when we all know triangle wheels are the best.
No, it's dodecagons.
Decagons. Yeah.
Dodecahedrons.
Exactly.
Jill, quit showing off, please.
Yeah. But also, like when we're talking about Clear Linux OS, we cannot be confusing that with Clear OS, which is also another thing.
Yeah.
So that didn't help with the marketing aspect.
Clear OS can hire me and we'll get the marketing thing going with Clear Pepsi. We'll bring it back because, I think it's going to be worth millions.
So to me, the demise of Clear Linux, it does kind of say something about Intel's future. This move is actually part of Intel's broader restructuring efforts, which plans to cut over 5,000 jobs across the U.S. states. A lot of people have been hearing that in the news, and that's scary. But this, to me, is very scary because not only was the announcement sudden, but this shows the extent they have to cut if they are getting rid of smaller projects like Clear Linux. I mean, this was a tiny project compared to...
I feel like that, but that's also the easiest thing to get rid of is tiny projects that don't really have that much purpose,
revenue generating.
Yeah.
But I get Jill's point. Intel's went from a situation where they were able to contribute to a lot of different things because of the amount of money that they were bringing in, because of being king, because of being number one. And now you're going to see a lot of this extra stuff go away. Frankly, that's something we've had to face as a podcast. A lot of companies after COVID cut their budgets for marketing entirely.
That's true.
Yeah.
And we talked to other podcast networks. They faced the same problem at the same time. And it was really dark there for a while. So it's one of those things where a lot of these companies had excess. Now they don't. And they are, because of some bad decisions. I mean, right. You got to call them what they are. I love Intel. I hope Intel exists for the rest of my lifetime, if not longer than that. And I think they've done some incredible things. I remember how exciting it was to get an Intel CPU in your computer. I remember so many exciting innovations that company has made, that company has brought to the market. I also remember when they laughed at AMD, when Lisa Su was bringing Ryzen to the forefront and the CEO was being all arrogant about AMD being nothing. I remember being on Hardware Addicts telling everybody AMD is going to be the next big player. I remember all the hate mail saying how stupid I was and don't know crap about hardware.
Yeah.
And I ended up being right.
And I would like to point out that I was right as well on the same subject because I just agreed with Ryan having no idea what he was talking about. I was like, yeah, you're probably right, Ryan.
And I'm not giving you stock advice, but when I honed down on that, I bought stock and now it's worth a lot of money because I saw where AMD was going. What I saw AMD doing, my clue to why AMD was going to be successful was this. Lisa Su was a bona fide engineer. Bona fide engineer, not an executive coming out of some Ivy League college that was trained in business and blah, 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 but can't speak to engineers, was going to take over this company. And I knew at that point that she was going to be able to speak to engineers on their level to tell them what they needed to do to get this thing where it needed to be. And that's exactly what happened. I didn't know at the time she happened to be related to NVIDIA's CEO as well. Man, what a bloodline. But in any case, Intel's got
So
a
what
new
you're
CEO.
saying, so real quick question, Ryan. So you're saying that was not a stock tip about AMD or anything
I don't
like
give
that.
stock tips. No.
Right, of course not. So what company do you think is going to be very interesting in the next coming years?
Clear Linux. Clear Linux is what I would invest all of your money into.
Okay, gotcha.
Clear Linux for sure. That's a hot one.
I feel like we missed the boat on that one.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. No, I think Intel has some interesting, I've seen the new CEO's plans. They're obviously going to be relying heavily on TSMC for a lot of their fab. The problem is TSMC is backed up in all their fabrication, meaning NVIDIA and Apple and AMD have bought most of their manufacturing time, and Intel doesn't have the bucks it used to basically get priority on that line. They have some new exciting products. I'm very excited to see what they come out with. Never underestimate Intel. I think there's a potential for this company to come back in a huge way. We've talked to some of the Intel employees. I think they are incredibly gifted. They have some incredible people on that team. So if the leadership can let those people have a voice at the table, I think they could turn Intel around. If the leadership thinks they know everything and closes their engineers and people out of the conversation, I don't know that Intel will be around. So that's my take.
I mean, I feel like Intel has they have a long time appreciation in the Linux community because of how dedicated they have been to Linux. And I do feel like the statement about them still putting effort into Linux and that sort of stuff is still going to continue, because before Clear Linux, they were already doing tons of work for decades of working with the kernel and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not like Clear Linux is actually a big deal in that sense. I feel like Intel is still committed to Linux. But it is kind of a shame to see Clear Linux going away just because of because they were doing a lot of innovations. They were doing a lot of testing, and they were using Clear Linux as a way to get to it.
They were the most supportive of Linux and always have been. They were the first ones in the kernel.
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, they actually put stuff in the kernel sometimes before their hardware's out. Other companies that are supporting the kernel, AMD, will put stuff after the fact or much after the fact. And Intel will get stuff in because they'll kind of try to not tease too much in the kernel because people are looking for Intel commits to see if they're actually, they'll leak information. So, but they still are trying to put in the effort to make things work in the kernel as soon as possible. So as soon as the stuff comes out, it's there and it's working. And they've been doing that for a very long time. So mad respect to Intel in that sense. And I do think that Clear Linux had a purpose that was really cool, where they would just use it as an innovation project, but I never saw it as a distro for everyday users. To me, it seemed like it's just their kind of plaything, their playground of testing something
kind
here.
Kind of that KDE.
KDE Neon, that kind of thing.
KDE Neon, that's it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I think I hope the best for Intel. I want them to succeed. They do so much for Linux, continue to do so much for Linux. And
they're one of the largest contributors to the Linux kernel, one of the highest in the world. So we have to continue to have Intel supporting Linux and for their growth.
Save Intel.
Yeah.
There you go. I think we'll see some exciting things from Intel. I really like what they're doing in the GPU market and stuff.
Battle Mage. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
Cool name as well, which I really dig.
Hey, my Intel Arc A770 is still rocking in this machine, and it keeps getting updates and it's getting better. Let's hope they continue to keep updating.
There you go. I think they will for sure. Hey, Jill, we got a community member sent in our tip and trick this week, which is pretty dope.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So I wanted to read what this community member said. I enjoyed the flat pack section. I've been working on a guide to help my coworkers, network engineers, switch from Windows to Linux. It's a GitHub book, and I would love to have your feedback on the flat pack chapter. And they, of course, included the URL. Flat Seal is one of the flat packs I recommend in the guide, and Gear Lever for managing snaps.
So what I love about this is that it's not just a guide on Flatpak. It's a complete Linux user guide from beginning to end. I know they wanted feedback on the Flatpak, but I went through this and I was like blown away. I thought it was so well done. And it immediately made me think of my boss who's moving to Linux recently. And I was like, what an amazing guide to hand over, because it's written from a user perspective. There's a lot of guides out there, but they're not really written from that end user perspective. They don't have the graphics and things to follow to help a new end user really get the most out of Linux. And I feel like this guide is an incredible resource. Like, I love it. I completely dig it. And we will have it linked in the show notes for everybody to take a look. And because it's on GitHub, I think others can contribute to it too. And I highly recommend it. I really think we should rename it the Destination Linux Guide to Linux and officially.
Yeah, so this is the we're just going to have to ask the contributors, see if they would be open to renaming it the Destination Linux Guide.
We did no work on it, but we want our name on it.
Nothing at all.
So good.
Yeah,
we provide you nothing except exposure, but we want
and entertainment. That too.
That's true. Think about our entertainment. That's exactly what you need to think.
But this is really good. The only thing is that I feel like this is fantastic, and it is definitely good for people. I agree with Ryan. It's just not beginner friendly, because it's not necessarily for, like, it's trying to teach people who are in the industry of some kind. So like, it's talking about specifics, then talking about like the package tools and all that sort of stuff. So if you're a brand new user, it's not really aimed at, I mean, like if you're a beginner, it's not aimed. If you're brand new, then you're in the tech world, then it's fine. I'm just saying that a lot of people
actually
no.
Can you push your glasses up and say actually, please?
So this topic, the reason why is that it's talking about different types of package management. So it's like the APT versus Nala, and most beginners don't need to care about any of that stuff. But in terms of people who want to, this is a great resource.
I think they do, because that's one of the most confusing things when you're coming to Linux is if you don't understand where you get your software from. Keep in mind, everybody who comes from Windows is used to going to a website, downloading an exe. And so they have no clue where they get their software in a Linux environment and why there's multiple ways to get software and why.
I'm saying I think it's really not necessarily important. A term. I think we should try to keep the beginner aspect, as far as like, not trying to focus the terminal, because I think it pushes away a lot more than it keeps in. And I feel like this one is great. This whole guide is great. I'm just saying, like, the beginner user who's not interested in that sort of stuff doesn't need to know the difference between the various different terminal package managers.
I'm getting terminal listening to your mouth. That's what I'm getting terminal with. Yeah. But that's it. Thank you for this.
Are you saying I'm killing you? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Thank you for this incredible guide. It really is well done, and we'll have a link to it in the show notes.
It is well done. I'm not knocking it at all. I think it's very good.
He did. But
no, I'm just saying, he said you should be, everybody should look at it. I'm just saying, like, not everybody is going to, it's literally titled Ubuntu for network people, like for network engineers or something like that. Like they know who it's for. It's not.
I'm just saying, like, I looked at this guide and saw a lot of questions that people who are brand new to Linux are asking. And
it is very good.
Yeah.
It's just well done. So yeah. I endorse it. I give it my thumbs up. I give it 2 thumbs. Look at that. 2 thumbs up. And those are actual big thumbs.
I give it 2 weak thumbs up.
2 thumbs up. 3 thumbs up. 4 thumbs up.
Jill, you only have 2 thumbs.
Well,
I think she's adding to yours.
Okay. All right. I thought maybe Jill was about to.
She's not counting my thumbs because they're too weak.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, got it. I thought maybe she was revealing to us she was an alien. She was just gonna, like, here it is.
That would explain why everybody loves her so much. Yeah.
All right. Well, a big thank you to each and every one of you for supporting us by listening, watching the show, however you do it. We love your faces, and you can come join us in our Discord by going to tuxdigital.com/Discord, where you can join hundreds and hundreds of other thousands, even
Thousands.
Linux users. Why did I start at hundreds? You can join tens of people.
I think you're going for the joking of the dozens and dozens of.
Yes.
But
Baker's dozens of people. There's Baker's dozens of people in there.
There's at least that many. Yes.
No, there is thousands of people in our Discord chat. So you could go hang out, tell people you love Linux, automatically got something in common with them, make lots of friends, talk about the show, especially discuss why Michael has to actually every topic. That would be a great discussion topic to kick off the week.
Because that's providing context on the show. Like I'm giving extra information for the people who are listening. You're benefiting. You're welcome. You're welcome, people. So tuxdigital.com/discord to say thank you to me for giving you more context.
To say thank you to me. Who's the authoritarian leader now?
If you want to support the show,
thanks.
If you want to support the show for all the great context that I provide, go to tuxdigital.com/membership. And you can become a patron. You get a bunch of cool perks like unedited episodes of the show, watch the show live, you get merch discounts and all kinds of great stuff. And if you would like to get, like I talked about the merch discount, you want to get some merch, you go to tuxdigital.com/store and you can get a bunch of cool stuff. We have hats, mugs, hoodies, t-shirts, and so much more, including the very popular, no, not a screen light. No, we don't have that. That is a new one. That's the first time he's ever picked that up. So I appreciate it. Because for those who don't know, whenever Ryan picks up something, it's never in the store. And but anyway, what is in the store is also not that. But what is in the store is the Ryan is okay, I guess merch, which is it's the most popular right now. And if you would like to tell Ryan that you also agree that he's okay, I guess, then check it out at tuxdigital.com/store.
I feel bad for all the other Ryans out there because, people are getting it to troll me, sure. But they're also getting it to troll their other Ryan friends. Because imagine going to a party.
Which is fantastic.
And you can just wear a Ryan's okay, I guess shirt. And they're like, you got a whole shirt just to tell me I'm okay, you guess. And it's just,
I think it's perfect. It's also a great gift for people who like
compliment, Jules.
It's a compliment. It's also a great gift for anyone who's the spouse of anyone who's named Ryan. Because that could be.
Yeah. My wife's going to have one of those shirts. Ryan's okay, I guess. Unbelievable.
Ryan's okay, I guess.
Jill, you're not supposed to say that. You're supposed to be the kind one. What is wrong with you? You're supposed to say I'm amazing.
Well,
best ever.
It's a compliment because people are spending their hard-earned money to buy a shirt
to
that
troll
says
me.
that.
No, they're spending their hard-earned money to troll me. Let's not turn this into something it's not.
Okay. To be fair to Ryan, it is to troll him, which is awesome. So people go to the store, tuxdigital.com/store, and help troll Ryan.
And make sure to check out all the cool shows here on Tux Digital. That's right. We have an entire network of shows to fill your whole week with awesome geeky goodness. Head to tuxdigital.com to keep those Linux penguins marching.
Everybody, have a great week, I guess. And remember that the journey itself is just as important as the destination.
I mean, these days, it's kind of like, have a great week, I guess, is kind of fitting, It
is kind of fitting. I mean, 2025 is a mess of a year.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
The greatest.
No, a lot of ways. But what is the greatest is this show.
Yeah.
And this episode
still continues.
Is continuing, yes, but it actually is about to close. We need to
Let's start over. Let's do it again.
Do a whole another episode?
Do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we doing another episode or are we doing this episode?
I think we should redo this one. I think I could do it better the second time,
But is it going to be a tribute to the first one or is it going to be just better in general?
I think it'd just be better in general because this time I'm not going to allow you to talk about that stupid shirt you created.
I 100% guaranteed bring that up. Like at any random point, So I feel like there's no reason to do it again then because it's going to happen.
I want to go to Defcon and stuff. But if I
wear the Ryan's okay, I guess shirt.
No, I'm just saying if I go and I see one of those dang shirts at Defcon, like I'm gonna be really because if I announce I'm going, somebody is gonna wear one there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, they should.
In fact, I might go with you just to make sure that happens.
You hand them out. You've got free Rhinites. Okay, I guess shirts.
Like it's kind of like a challenge where you do like a scavenger hunt or something, and then their reward is that shirt.
I love it. I dig it.
See you next week, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Love
See
you
ya.
all.
You're okay, I guess.
That's good, Ryan.
That was good.